My name is Isabel Alarkin, and today I'm going to be sharing with you a project I created for a class COM 102, Media Literacy. And I just have a PowerPoint presentation on fact checking behaviors on social media. So, to start, we're going to talk about what fact checking is. And just a simple definition of fact checking is to verify the accuracy of statements. And more modern fact checking is commonly performed by institutes and websites in order to assess the truthfulness of claims made by public figures. That could be celebrities, politicians. I put politicians as an example because I feel like it's very relevant to fact checking. So, do social media platforms fact check? Um, I have a short little recent history on some fact checking behaviors from social media companies. In May of 2020, Twitter fact checked a tweet by Donald Trump regarding mail in voting. And then Twitter put labels on a number of his tweets that violated the company's policy on fact checking. Following Twitter's behaviors, Facebook announced in June of 2020 that it would add labels to posts on voting, and then it would direct users to more credible information on the election rather than a lot of the misinformation that was floating around during that time. So then I have four of the more popular social media platforms or ones that actually have fact checking policies. So to start, I have Facebook, and Facebook policy states that it identifies misinformation after it goes viral. And additionally, Facebook has a whole system that it directs these misinformation posts to a third party fact checker, to which then it will apply a label if it is deemed as misinformation. Punishments are threatened for repeat offenders. Twitter says that they will label or remove manipulated media or anything that was intended to misinform the audience or interfere with elections or other civic processes. And they also state that exceptions are made for key elected officials. YouTube states that it provides information from third party fact checkers on specific searches. However, it does not fact check specific videos. And then lastly, I have Pinterest, which says they will remove content from conspiracy theories, medical misinformation, election misinformation, and disinformation campaigns, and that manipulated media will be removed. As far as Instagram, all I know is that Facebook owns Instagram, so I assume it's a similar process or they do something similar, but I could not find much information on it, and I am on Instagram, but I don't know anything about their fact checking behaviors, so do apologize. Okay, and then I conducted a short survey on my friends' behaviors and their knowledge of fact checking. I just say my friends because I posted the 8-question survey to my Facebook page, which is privated, and I shared it with some friends and family or people in my life. But it was open to anyone who clicked on the link or got shared the link. I sort of capped the sample size at around 50, so I got a total of 55 people. I just didn't want to be overwhelmed with data, and this gave me kind of what I needed to know. The answers were completely anonymous, and the only demographic factor I used in the survey was age, as I felt the other demographic factors weren't important to the survey. And then limitations to the study included, of course, a small sample size that was primarily distributed to people in my life, and then self reported data. Okay, so we're going to get into the questions and just talk a little more about them. Question one was, which social media platform do you most frequently visit? And I had Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, and then other. So 60% of the survey respondents reported that Facebook was their most frequently visited social media platform. And I know a lot of times in class we talk about how we feel Facebook is sort of declining in popularity, which I do somewhat agree with. I use it a lot. It's not my most frequently used social media platform. But Statista.com reported in 2021 that Facebook was the most popular social media platform with more than 2.85 billion registered accounts. So I think that Facebook has just been the easiest social media platform to use for everybody, and it reaches just a really wide range of audiences and people. So it just continues to be the most popular social media platform. Question number 2 was, do you get your news and information from social media? And it was measured with always, sometimes, rarely, or never. And I did some additional research and found that in 2018, Pew Research Center reported that social media sites have surpassed print newspaper as a news source for Americans. That makes sense. I don't know a lot of people who still use paper to get their news. If you do, that's great, but I don't know a lot of people that do. And then in reference to my survey, 70% of the survey respondents reported that they sometimes or always get their news and information from social media. And then furthermore, the Pew Research Center found that social media was found to be the most popular way for American adults aged 18 to 29 to get their news. And so for age, 43% of my respondents were between the ages of 18 and 29 and were reporting a high frequency use of social media to get news and information. Question number 3 was, do you fact check the information and news you get from social media? And that was also measured on always, sometimes, rarely, or never. And 43.6% of my survey respondents reported that they always fact check the news they get from social media, and 41.8% reported that they sometimes fact check the news they get from social media. Together, that's about 85% of respondents who either always or sometimes fact check the information and news they get from social media. Pretty good number. And then question number 4 was, do you share news/information from a social media platform before fact checking? I was just sort of trying to get the information about this question. I don't have a lot to say. It was measured on an always, sometimes, rarely, or never. So 4 people said that they always share news/information from a social media platform before fact checking. 14 said that they sometimes do, 21 rarely, and 16 never. Question 5 was, are you more likely to trust content from a source that aligns with your beliefs? And then this was measured with yes, no, or it makes no difference. So 75% of survey respondents indicated that they are more likely to trust content from a source that aligns with their beliefs. And I would probably say the same if I was answering. I found that according to the American Psychological Association, this is a natural tendency called motivated reasoning. And a lot of the article that I was reading about it was identifying this as a sort of problem among social media users, which whether it's a problem or not, I don't know. That's not for me to decide. But they were saying the way to start to fix this problem was with none other than media literacy. Um, so I think this kind of ties in with when we talk about targeted ads. We know that a lot of the ads we get are from either what we're searching on Google, Safari, what we're looking at on Instagram or Facebook, and then we get targeted ads for those things. So personally, I know I'll get a lot of it's like sponsored advertisements or just page referrals because of some of the content I look at that does ultimately a lot of time align with my beliefs or stuff that I like. So, I mean, if that's what you're doing like I do, you're going to get more information and news from certain sources that will most likely align with your beliefs more than not. However, I think it might be good to recognize that as a bias on your social media platforms, and recognize that the news you're taking in um, might align more with your beliefs and that maybe you should take a look at other sources to get a sort of wider range of information. It will probably ultimately benefit you. And then question number 6 is which, if any of the following fact checking resources do you use? So I just picked the most popular ones and the ones that I like to use, which was factcheck.org, politifact.com, snopes.com, the Washington Post fact checker, other or none of the above, and survey respondents could click multiple answers. Other was intended to be, if they use a different source that I didn't list there, and none of the above was intended to be if a survey respondent did not use any or doesn't use any sort of fact checker. And then I found that 80% of respondents use at least some form of fact checker. And then question 7 was how many years have you been on social media? I used MySpace as sort of the start of social media. In my perspective, it was, and it was created in 2003. Facebook was created in 2004, Twitter in 2006, and Instagram in 2010. So the year ranges were 15 to 20 years with 8 respondents, 10 to 14 years with 38 respondents, 5 to 9 years with 8 respondents, and 1 to 4 years with 1 respondent. 69% of the survey respondents indicated they have been on social media between 10 and 14 years, which is where I would probably fall as well. Maybe a lot of you would fall there as well. And then 14.5% of survey respondents indicated that they've been on social media between 15 and 20 years. So, why is fact checking important? Why should you care about it? This is sort of my opinion, but fact checking is a very important skill, which, yes, it is sort of defined as a skill, but it can be easily acquired. So, ultimately, I think it could just help you to make or better guide your decisions that are based on your opinion. Overall, I mean, it's better to take in true information than misinformation. So, being able to identify the difference is important. Misinformation you don't need it. And specifically, I think it's really important for the generations that are growing up with digital media to be able to evaluate sources effectively and to be able to identify fake news. So these are my references. I'm gonna go back because I forgot to mention that these are just some fact-checking resources. These are my favorite. Um, PolitiFact.com, Snopes.com, FactCheck.org, Washington Post Fact Checker. If you use a different one, great. These are just my favorite. They're really easy to use, so if you've never used them before, just you can type it into your search bar and you can type in a fact or a piece of information that you would like to know more about, and they'll tell you what you need to know. And that is all I have for you. So if you sat through this and listened, thank you very much. I hope, I don't know, you gained something from this. But yeah, thank you guys.